Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Latasha Hewitt, and you're watching AEC Today Reports. We're so happy that you joined us this evening. We hope you've had a great week so far. We're excited about our wonderful lineup. Again, this week we have our money management segment, continuing the discussion on taxes. We have our Ask the Pastor segment, where one of your questions will be asked of our guest pastor this month, Pastor Moise. And we also have our ministry moment. We're learning about some other wonderful service that some of our churches are doing. And of course, we have our fitness with Faye, keep us moving. We have all of that coming up right after this break. Please stay tuned and don't forget to share. Welcome back to AC Today Reports. We're back with another week of one of my favorite segments, and that is our money management segment. We love this because this is our opportunity to share with you some of the things that you can use to make better financial decisions for you and your family. And we have, with our special series this month, Andrew W. Fagon, CPA. We're going to invite him on at this time. How are you doing,
Hello.
Andrew?
I'm all right. How are you?
Awesome. Welcome back.
Nice to be back. Thank you.
You shared so much wonderful information with us last week about some of the changes that have taken place from this tax season versus previous years. And I mean, like I said, you shared so much I didn't even realize. And so we're going to keep this series going. We're still talking about taxes.
Okay.
But this week we want to talk about the advantages of using someone like yourself, a certified public accountant. That's what a CPA stands for, right?
That's correct.
For those who didn't know.
My wife says it stands for something else, but family-friendly program. I'm just kidding. So, but yes, certified public accountant. Sure.
Okay. Using someone like yourself who has this knowledge that seems to just ooze out of your brains, or you're so in tune with the news and updates as they come out, relying on someone like you versus an online system. And there's so many different ones out there that kind of walk you through the process, asking you questions, and based on those questions, you select what applies to you. So let's tackle that one first. What are the pros and cons of each, and outline those for us?
All right. Well, yeah, Latasha, thank you so much for having me again. Really, really appreciate it. Enjoyed our conversation. I rambled on a little bit, but I'm hoping somebody gleans something of use.
Oh, no rambling. No.
You ask a really good question. I'm gonna say this first and foremost. I'm not quite sure. There are a lot of numbers happening up here, but there is a way to file your taxes free by going to the IRS website if your income is at a certain level. If it doesn't go past a certain level. And you know what? Generally speaking, when individuals have income that doesn't reach a certain level, they tend to be simpler, less complex returns. Mind you, modest earnings can be complicated as well because you have changes in filing status, changes in living arrangements, things like that impact your finances and therefore your taxes. So I would start by putting a plug for the free option. And if you have a computer, access to the internet, try it out. Why not? Save yourself a few dollars. It's not all about making money for the tax preparer. I'm not lobbying for tax preparers to stay in business. But I would say that the answer to the question is it really, really depends. An increasing number of taxpayers are turning to software and doing their taxes themselves. However, there are advantages to using a tax professional. But the deciding point, I believe, comes down to the complexity of your finances. Okay. Do you own your own business? Have you gone through a life-changing event? Divorce? Have you bought a home? Suffered a loss due to a natural disaster? The Texas winter storms just recently, right? The flooding that took place in New Jersey a few years back due to the hurricane. Have you started a business? Is this your first year itemizing versus, standardizing for many, many years? Do you work in one state and live in another? Or are you just simply busy, busy, busy? I'll use one of my clients as an example. Does a really, really good job of putting all their information together. For years, she's done her taxes along with her. She takes care of the taxes for her and her husband. And she said the idea of just being able to give it to me just
you take it. Yeah.
Her burden, right? So you have a lot of individuals like that, but you do have individuals that are completely fine. So I would say this: if you've done your own taxes year after year and not much has changed in your financial or personal situation, you'll likely be more than able to handle your tax return this year or in the coming years. However, make sure you're familiar with any relevant changes in the rules, such as those brought about by the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which was the massive tax bill that went into effect in 2018. For example, we talked in our last segment a little bit about SALT, right? The standard deduction basically doubled when that 2018 tax law was signed into law. The personal exemption went away. It used to be like $4,050 per exemption or per individual you claimed on your tax return. And there are new limitations, particularly for those living in blue states. Deductibility of mortgage interest. Okay. We didn't talk about that last time. We talked about SALT, but we didn't talk about mortgage interest. And then SALT, which is your state and local taxes. New York and New Jersey, Connecticut, residents know this impact of SALT on their tax return, I'm sure, all too well.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm one of those people. I feel like I have enough knowledge to kind of navigate it, on an online program. Yet there's always this sinking feeling or this second thought in the back of your mind, like, I wonder if I caught everything, or maybe I should run this by someone who knows a little bit more. So, I guess you kind of have to weigh it out and figure out which one works best for you. But
you do. Your situation is not unusual. I had somebody call me last year from Michigan to do their taxes. I was referred to them by somebody else. She's like, I've done my taxes. I've done it. But, how much are you going to charge me? Because I've already done it. And I'm like, well, if you've done it, go ahead, hit the button, file it, you're good to go. And to ease her concern of spending this money where she feels she doesn't need to. But if that lingering question is in your mind, it's not really a waste of money. It's good money spent because you're saying, I'm not quite sure, but I want to be sure. I said to her, look, I'm going to charge you. You're going to find out that you're doing it right. You just needed somebody to confirm it. It's confirmed. Next year, have at it. You're on your own. Well, she did call me back this year, but the idea was, because I think there's once people get somebody that, and this is going back to the question of do you use an expert? Tax preparers are a dime a dozen. A tax planning person, a person that sits down with you and explains to you almost well enough for you to do it yourself, is not your typical tax planner, but that's the type of person you want. They're going to invest the time to educate you on what's necessary to plan for the future. Like I said in the first segment, 2020 is gone. Now we're focused on 2021. And by the way, we're almost 4 full months into 2021. What changes do I need to make to ensure I capitalize on everything that's out there to either minimize my tax liability or increase whatever refund might be due me?
That's key. We're going to be talking about that in the upcoming segment because that's important. So I think we kind of know what we need to do based on where we are in terms of the complexity and peace of mind factor. But one of the questions is really pretty much one of the first questions you have to figure out is, how am I filing? So can you kind of give us a brief overview of the various filing statuses, individual, joint, all of that, and some of them, I mean, you have no choice. If you're just individual, you have to be an individual. But then you have married, filing jointly, married, filing individually. Just kind of help us navigate all of those things in
Okay.
it.
It's a great question, and it's an important question because it drives everything else, right? It's one of the first questions you're asked,
Right.
particularly in those online programs. Well, your filing status is used to determine your filing requirements, your standard deduction. So there's a standard deduction for single, there's a standard deduction for married filing jointly, there's a standard deduction for what's called head of household, and there's a standard deduction for married filing separate, which, by the way, is the same deduction as married filing, as a single filer.
Hmm.
Um, right? It determines your eligibility for credits and also your correct tax, right? So you don't want to be a single filer. Generally, single filers pay a little bit more than your married filing jointly. Filing as a single person, when you should be filing married filing separate. By the way, if you do file as a single person, as somebody that should have filed married filing jointly, the IRS is going to flag that. You can't actually do that.
Ah.
If you're married, as of December 31, 11:59 a.m., if you're in Vegas and you just met her or him or whatever the case may be, and you get married, you're married from a tax perspective um, that year, not January 1. Okay.
No,
The do
I want to stay there for a second,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah. Please.
there are a lot of marriages in different situations. So
Mhm,
maybe they're separated, they don't
mhm,
share finances, they've tried to,
mhm,
keep things separate, or they have separate
mhm,
accounts and all of that.
mhm.
Um, that does not, based on how you do your personal finances in your family, does not change what your status is when you're filing taxes, right? So
You got it.
it's not asking them what do you want to be. It's what are you,
I
kind of.
got it. You
Okay.
you 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 got it. There's a cutoff, December 31. A lot of people, and I'm glad you brought that up because um, I have here a married couple can choose either to file a joint return, married filing jointly, or married filing separate. Okay. The primary driver in choosing one filing status over another should be to increase any refund you may be entitled to or lower your tax liability. Okay. The point that you made, and I'm looking in my notes here for it, the point that you made um, about a couple that might be married and one person is living over here. What drives whether you can file, for example, not married filing separate, or sorry, married filing jointly, is a divorce decree,
Mm.
right? You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going to file single because I don't like this guy anymore.
Right.
I'm living in Florida." And they're living in Texas. It doesn't work that way. The IRS views you, unless there's a divorce decree as of December 31, as married, and therefore you have to choose between married filing jointly or married filing separate, right?
Okay.
Very, very important distinction. A lot of people get caught up doing that and get into trouble. Um, does that answer your question?
It does. I mean, it's not like your Facebook status where you can change it from
No,
married to single anytime you want.
no, it's not. Let's move on to head of household.
Okay.
Head of household is another tax filing status. Generally, you may file head of household when you have a child or qualifying relative living with you for more than half of the year, and for which you provide more than half of their total support. If these don't apply to you, you have to file single. Okay,
Mm.
you're not married. You're not married filing separate. You're not a widow. You're not a widower. You have to file single, or if you meet these requirements, you can file head of household. So what's the difference between being single and head of household? Well, head of household status provides you a larger standard deduction and wider tax brackets, at least at the lower and moderate income levels. When you get into the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, things change, right? The standard deduction for head of household taxpayers is $18,650 in 2020, up from $18,350 in 2019. That's a $6,250 difference more than the single deduction. That's a significant gap
very
between
significant.
the two. So instead of having, now mind you, a deduction, and we're going to get into this when we talk about deductions and credits. A deduction is very different from a credit. A deduction is some portion of your earnings will not be taxed at your tax rate, where a credit is you owe $13,000, you get a credit of $1,000. For example, child earned income credit. Your tax liability goes from $13,000 to $12,000, or your refund goes from $13,000 to $14,000. Beyond single, married filing single, married filing separate, forgive me. You also have widower and widower situations. This is a special filing status for surviving spouses, and tax rates and standard deductions are the same for married filing jointly. It seems when you start to do this work, you kind of have examples from everything, right? Unfortunately, I have a client whose husband passed away this year, and I kept on asking questions as sympathetically as I could. I actually know this person well enough to say, I'm sorry, I got to ask about this. I'm sorry, I have to ask about that. And I'm glad I knew well enough to be sensitive to their situation. But she was curious as to why, because he's gone. And I said, well, for tax year 2020, you're still considered to be married. And so I need to get some questions answered about him, particularly his death, whatever earnings he had up to that time, et cetera. So if, as far as widow and widower is concerned, in the case of a widower whose spouse dies during the tax year in question, say 2020, and your intention was to file a joint return, if not for their death, your filing status would be married filing jointly. If your intention was not to file a joint return, you would then need to file a married filing separate return, not a single. Okay, so that's the difference there. It's not a single. You don't automatically default to single. This widower concept, the status is limited to the first 2 years following the death of a spouse, as long as the person does not remarry within the tax year. I think this is important to note here. Married filing separate filing status. This filing status may affect the taxability of Social Security benefits. It may also affect your eligibility to claim certain deductions and credits. I'll pause there for a second and say, when A and B are married, and A decides that they're going to file a married filing separate return, well, whatever deduction status they use, whether they standardize or itemize, their spouse has to use the same. Okay.
Oh, I was going to ask that. Okay.
Yeah. So you can't pick or choose. And here's why. Here's one of the reasons why, I should say. People can manipulate the code then. Well, you file and claim all of these things. I file and not claim this. So you get the best of both worlds. No. If you standardize here, if A standardizes, B has to standardize. If A itemizes, B has to itemize. And I've had clients that have grappled over that for different reasons. But that's an important distinction that I wanted to make. And married couples who file separately usually pay more taxes than those who file jointly. That's just a general rule. Okay? I'll stop there for a second.
Well, I just want to go back to the head of household. The distinction between the head of household and filing single is pretty much that you have dependents or someone under your care. Is that the main distinction? Okay.
Yes, but they have to live with you for at least half of the year. And here's an interesting one. You have to provide at least half of their financial support. Now, I have to do the research on this, and perhaps if we have another segment, we can come back to it. Let's say you have a child actor or a child that has a TikTok account, and somehow they're able to
Oh yeah,
make a whole bunch of money, right? If they're earning enough to basically be financially independent, you can't claim them. That's what that means. You have to provide at least half of their financial well-being. They have to live with you, and they have to at least live with you for at least half of the year. That's the driving force behind claiming head of household. And of course, you're not married.
Wow.
Okay. Now,
wow, that's interesting.
Go ahead, please.
So, no, I was just gonna say, as parents, we want to encourage our kids. Oh, do this, but at some point, they may earn themselves out of being dependent on taxes.
Yes,
not that that's a bad thing.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing at all. And you bring up another point. You cannot claim head of household status and file for your husband or spouse. I'm trying to figure out how a situation like that would work, but literature out there talks about that distinction can't do that. But you cannot claim your dependent child who's over the age of 24 unless they're in
24.
school.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
And I want to talk a little bit about common law spouses.
Yeah.
As well as I would say same-sex couples. We operate in the Adventist circle and sometimes pretend that those things don't exist. But we have family members. And when members come over, we feed them. So this is feeding them information to ensure that they can take care of their finances effectively. Same-sex couples are just that. If it's recognized, actually it's recognized nationally, it's a national law, can file tax returns as a married couple. Common law spouses, there are 15 states in the District of Columbia that recognize the status and are considered married for federal tax purposes. They must choose between married filing jointly and the married filing separate tax status. You just can't say you're living together. You actually have to almost make this declaration, this commitment that this person is my spouse, even though you're not legally married. Otherwise, everybody would do it, right? But I just wanted to throw that out there. And then finally, which filing status should you use? The rules to qualify for each filing status do not leave much room for error. And choosing the wrong status could result in paying too much or too little, and also being audited. Paying too much or too little, you can get by that, but audits are not fun.
No, I'm sure. This has been very helpful. I think particularly for me, what stands out is that married filing jointly versus married filing separately, because really financially it makes more sense to do it jointly, in terms of, like you said, getting a better return or owing less. So sometimes we try to make these things. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I could say, eventually we have to get to a segment that we talk about how the tax code impacts people of color, and particularly Black people.
Oh yeah, that's good.
You're gonna understand that the code is so anti-Black, it's ridiculous. And that segment is just. It's mind-blowing when you start to do the analysis and all that. And it's exciting to think about and talk about from my perspective, but it's really scary how much some of these things that are ingrained in this society are against us and people that look like us.
Oh, well, we're gonna have to delve into that, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to educate and make sure people are aware, and also empower them with what they need, that when the opportunity comes to impact change in these areas, we know what we should be advocating for. So this is great. I'm looking forward to that. I've jotted that down. It's something we're going to cover in a future segment. So thank you for throwing that out. In order
to do that, there's going to be a book that you and I read before we have that segment.
Okay. I like to read. Okay, well, this has been great. You shared a lot with us about our filing status, and how we know which one to pick, which one will give us the best benefit for the situation that we're in. So this has been great. So if you're listening to this and you've been filing incorrectly all these years, or not getting yourself the most benefit, here's your chance to make that adjustment as you move forward. So thank you so much, Andrew. As
Absolutely.
always,
You're
this
welcome.
has been awesome. Of course, we can't cover everything in these segments each week. So if
Sorry.
you'd like to reach out to Andrew personally, professionally, here is his email address, awfagan@gmail.com. And as you can see, he's very knowledgeable. So he can definitely assist you with any questions that you may have. All right.
I pretend. You're too kind. But I'm happy to talk through these things, because as we talk through them, I learn as well. So, hey, have a question, reach out to me.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for agreeing to do that. And we're looking forward to next week. This is getting better and better. I feel like my knowledge about taxes is growing each week as we discuss different topics. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. All right, everyone. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hello, I'm Faye Gregory from the Spirit of Fitness with Faye. I have a few tips to share with you to avoid a rerun of 2020 and 2021. Tip number 1, it is important for you to make your health a priority. Make your health and time for yourself like an important meeting that you wouldn't want to miss. You matter, you are important. Tip number 2, we can begin by setting measurable and sustainable goals. Keep them realistic. You know your limitations. Don't have your goals way up here, too far for you to attain. You know your limitations. Take baby steps, one day at a time, and then increase your workout, your time over the next week or month. And tip number 3, along with your health care coverage and prayer, self-care is an important component. What do I mean? I don't mean just getting your hair done. What I mean by self-care is making time to exercise daily. The weather's getting better now. Get outside and move. Doing something is better than doing nothing. During the pandemic, it is very important to move. Do something you enjoy. Your fitness success is contingent upon consistency. It's better to do a little something than nothing at all. God has given us a free and comprehensive health plan. Our bodies are a gift from God. He's going to hold us accountable and ask, what have we done with my gift? When we take care of ourselves, we stay winning. Always remember that you are beautifully and wonderfully made in His image. Move with intentionality so you can equip, energize, and enhance yourself.
All right, everyone, welcome back to AEC Today Reports. We are moving right along in our program, and next up is our Ministry Moments section, where we focus on some of the various ministries that are happening within our churches, whether it's through individuals, Vince's Community Service Department, or groups. And we're happy today to have as our special guest from the Capitol Hill Seventh-day Adventist Church, Karen Hayes. So we're going to invite her on at this time. Hi, Karen. How are you?
Hi, Latasha. How are you?
Awesome. We it's customary for us to check in with everyone. It's been a year into this pandemic. Mm-hmm. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. God is good. It's been up and down, but I'm doing well.
Okay, awesome. And I shouted out your church for you. You're part of the Capitol Hill Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Washington, D.C.
In D.C.
So this is exciting, and I know that we have featured some of the things that you all have done before, but I had to bring you back because I saw some pictures, of some of the activities you guys were doing, and it was just really encouraging to see all the things you have going on. And you're the ACS leader?
Yes, I am. I'm the Community Services Ministry Leader at our church.
Okay, awesome. And so, I kind of said you guys are doing a lot, but tell us specifically, what are some of the projects that you all have been able to do within even this year or these recent months?
So during the pandemic, there were a number of projects that we continue to do that we were doing before. So that's, helping to feed. We don't run a food pantry in our church, but we've been working with nonprofit organizations and others in the area who do feed. So whether that's food delivery to seniors in the District of Columbia, or those who are, ill, like Food and Friends, which delivers food to those who are terminally ill or just are facing chronic illness. So we've continued to do that and pack food. But during the pandemic, other types of needs came about. For instance, one of the first things we did during the pandemic, right after the lockdown, we already had our Acts of Kindness Day scheduled. But what we didn't have initially was serving first responders. So that was one of our first times actually going out to the fire stations within the area of the church, the police station that's closest to the church, and just really letting them know that we were praying for them. We surprised them with breakfast, and just letting them know that, hey, we know that you're really on the front lines every single day, in addition to what's already going on in the community. But now you're facing persons who have COVID. And if you remember, initially, we weren't wearing masks. I mean, it's so common now, but at the time we weren't. And then after that, we pivoted to masks. I remember when it was first said you need to wear a mask. And I think people were kind of, well, you said we didn't need to before, but now we do. So we were able to get masks to deliver. And then we also started a sewing circle at the church we had not done before. So we were able to make masks and give them to a number of seniors, including seniors within our church, because it was difficult enough prior to the pandemic. But for those who had transportation issues or who were, who weren't as mobile, the pandemic brought an additional burden. So we were definitely trying to, meet people where they were.
Absolutely. And I mean, the thing I like about what you guys are doing is your creative ways. Where do you generate these ideas of service? Because sometimes, we stick into those traditional pantry food. Not that those aren't important.
Right.
But there are other needs in other parts of our community that sometimes get overlooked, and it seems like you're seeing those people. So what is it? What is it that gives you these ideas to serve the way that you all are?
First of all, I'm part of a team, so I might be a ministry leader, but I have an amazing community services ministry team. And because they live in various parts of the DC area, some in DC, some in Maryland or Virginia, but they are also in communication with other people and organizations. So they have their ear to the ground too. So many of the new ideas, actually, it's not like they come from me, they come from others within our team who are seeing needs and gaps. I would say the second piece to that is, in addition to the team or even just members at the church giving us ideas, I think the second piece is actually reaching out to the local community and also to elected officials in the area, because oftentimes their constituents are calling to say, hey, we need this, we need that. DC is so different in terms of food access. So at one point, it wasn't, there was an issue at one point where there wasn't a lot of food. Then the second piece was there was food, but how do you get it to people when people aren't mobile? So it was really asking local organizations, hey, what do you need? So one of the things that we've probably done, continue to do and to do even more, is still deliver food when people aren't able to move around. So, again, working with the team to come up with ideas and then just asking, hey, what is it that you need? I just spoke with a young lady in a local housing area, and she said, I have all the food that I need, but what I don't have is pull-ups for our residents. So she showed me all the diapers, but she said, look, I don't have any pull-ups. So again, it's really asking the question, based on the community that you're in.
Yes, that makes a big difference. Sometimes we push on people we think they may want, but it's really important to kind of survey and see what the real needs are. Now, I know we talked about the pandemic and with community service for a while. Some people who had a heart for serving just didn't feel comfortable interacting with people. Maybe they had pre-existing conditions or other things that made them leery. But you all seem to have found ways to help individuals still be able to participate in community service without them physically going out. Share with us the thought process behind that and how you were able to implement some of those things.
Well, we did know, because people reached out in various ways, hey, I want to help. And again, to your point, if you have, whether you had a pre-existing condition or not, there's so much that was unknown. Even now about the pandemic, there was a lot of uncertainty around being around people at all. So what we did is just looked at, well, what are other ways that people could serve from home? So if you want to donate food, maybe you can make bags of food at home with your family and make it a family effort, or you can do something in your home. Maybe you can buy socks or whatever. But I think what has kind of emerged at our church that may continue on is kind of a hub and spoke system. You do your service project, whatever that is, at home, and you drop it off at a particular location, typically a member's house. And we would have someone maybe in DC, a member's home in Maryland, where you could drop it off, but it's no touch. So whatever it is, maybe it's in a bin or something outside the door. And then you coordinate another set of volunteers to come to that same house to pick up later from that house to deliver it to its, final destination. So it's really just kind of looking at different ways to involve people. Some people, for whatever the reason, maybe they couldn't do that at home, but maybe they were willing to donate money. So if they were willing to donate money, then there was another group that could use those funds to go out and buy the food. So I think it's looking at who you have available. I find everybody wants to help in some way.
Yeah.
But looking at different ways to get them involved, I think is the critical piece.
Absolutely. And that's what I applaud you all for doing, because I think during this pandemic, everyone's starting to reevaluate what's important. And a lot of people, what's helping them even navigate all these emotions and the mental anguish they're feeling is being able to give back. And so providing that opportunity is not just beneficial to those who are receiving whatever you're giving, but for those who have the ability to participate in some way.
I agree.
So we're happy that you guys are, leading the way with these kinds of things. And you share with me some pictures that I want us to kind of go through, and you can kind of tell me what kind of activity, what activity you are doing at this time. So where are we here?
So here we're at the Police District 1, the Metropolitan Police Department. And you all, there's just been so much going on with police in the past year. And for our policemen, service persons who are of color, particularly officers who are of color, it's been even more of a challenge. So we've probably been to that police district probably 4 or 5 times now since the pandemic, just encouraging them. We surprised them with breakfast. We've taken them inspirational books and given them gift cards. Our pastors were there in January to pray with them. It's just letting them know. So in this case, the need isn't food, it's spiritual food. So, and just encouragement. So it's just letting them know, hey, there are people who care about your well-being physically and spiritually and emotionally. So you see, we have a number of people from the church here.
That is awesome. And the thing I like about it too is it wasn't just once, it wasn't just twice. You're showing them that they're constantly on your minds. You've gone there 4 times in a year. Yeah. That's important, not to just be a one-time drop in, but to have some consistency. All right, let's see. We may have more. Okay, this is like a warehouse.
Yeah, so we're at the Toys for Tots in the month of December. And as you can imagine, there are fewer volunteers for a variety of reasons. So on the day we went, we were the only volunteers there, other than the Marines that run the Toys for Tots program in the District of Columbia. So it's, again, a different way to serve. I know a number of people like to do front facing, like give the toy to the child. But there's also a benefit in what we were doing, which is 18-wheeler dropping off the toys, and somebody's got to sort those toys. So that's what we were doing that day. So it was an awesome way to have multiple ages, because that's the thing with some of the projects, there are age limitations.
Right.
Something like Toys for Tots, you can have younger kids, sort,
Mhm.
just as you can adults. So it's a great way for a family to serve together.
Awesome. I know I got these out of order, but oh, this was recent.
Yes, this is recent. This is at the gardens at Dupont School to clean it out, clear it out so that they can start growing their vegetables and herbs and all the great produce that they grow in that garden. So that was very recent, just last week.
Yes, this is awesome. All right.
So this is Food and Friends. And as I mentioned, the food delivery, the nonprofits that deliver food faced a very difficult issue because so many people in the District of Columbia, it's an urban area. So you have a number of people don't have a car because you don't need to. You've got public transportation and Lyft and Uber. So they really needed people to step up who had cars. So this is one of our volunteers, also serves with us on the community services team to deliver foods to persons facing chronic and then sometimes life-threatening illness in the District of Columbia.
Wow, that's so awesome. And there's more of that.
And this is another team also at Food and Friends preparing to get the food packed into the cars. And one of the things I would like to share about food delivery is that it gives our members an opportunity to go throughout the District of Columbia. So it's not just in the area of our church, because these organizations pretty much serve in all, deliver food to all 8 wards within the District of Columbia. So it's an opportunity for our members to interact with a wide range of people throughout the city.
I love that. And I love the shirts, by the way, where kindness is intentional. I love that. That's so cool.
So this is at the Capital Area Food Bank. So the Capital Area Food Bank provides food for most of the food pantries within the District of Columbia and even suburban Maryland and Virginia. So they get, probably millions of pounds of food over the course of a year that's then packed and sent to these various food pantries. And in some cases, they have pickups right there. But most of the food pantries in the district are get a lot of their food from the Capital Area Food Bank. So we send volunteers there probably 4 to 5 times a year because they always have a need for people to come and pack food.
Okay, awesome. And we're not going to go through all of them because you guys have been doing so much. And that was the other thing. How frequently are you doing this? This weekly, this monthly? How often is your team doing some type of activity?
So at the beginning of the pandemic, it was weekly. So each week we were doing everything from collecting bags of beans and rice and delivering them to Adventist Community Services over in Silver Spring to the Mass. So that's kind of what started that hub and spoke system that I talked about, where one group delivers to a couple of locations, another group comes and picks up from that location and takes them. So that's when that started. And then probably by midsummer, it's been monthly and sometimes every other week, but it's definitely been monthly pretty much since then. We don't operate a food pantry, but it still gives our members an opportunity to serve in the area.
That is so awesome. And that's the other thing. It seems like there's good participation from the members. And that's all. Sometimes that's part of the struggle, not having enough people to volunteer, but it seems like the members are very much engaged in this process. So that's good to see.
Very much so. And even our seniors are able to participate depending on some of the projects that we have that you can do at home. They've been able to participate too, because we sometimes get scripture cards, and those scripture cards, typically when we go out, when we're able to, we like to give out either a scripture card or a prayer card so that when persons get a card from one of our members that has the prayer line on, so they can call and connect with the church that way, especially because we're virtual right now. So it has the website, but the phone number to the prayer line is on there. So it gives them an opportunity to call for prayer.
I love that. That's an awesome idea. I like that. And what I like too is that you guys have eliminated anyone's excuse not to be of service. So you can't say, oh, I like to, but I don't know how.
Right.
You guys have provided plenty of opportunities, or I'm too old, I'm too young, you guys have something for everyone to be able to serve. And that's awesome. So before we go, can you share with someone else out there who wants to be more involved in community service, not really sure how to get it started, and how to motivate people in their church or individuals, even in their own family or neighborhood,
Right.
engage. What would you say some quick advice to them?
So what I would say is, particularly if it's a person who's in leadership and looking to be able to get more people engaged, is to get other persons who are interested in serving to help come up with ideas, because again, I'm just the leader. I'm not the reservoir of all the ideas. I can't implement everything. And I think that's really important, is to get other people involved and ask people, hey, do you know of some other areas that maybe there's a shortfall? Maybe it's food in your neighborhood. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's like with a homeless ministry. Sometimes, one of the things we did was socks, because they said, we need socks. So it's maybe having some persons who are willing to make some calls to find out what is it that our community needs, be it local leaders, maybe it's within your immediate neighborhood, or nonprofit organizations that are serving in the area of your church. I think having members involved and also having a pulse for what your community actually needs is really the key. Awesome.
I love that. Great advice. And for those who are watching us, maybe near or far, this is the website to Capitol Hill SDA Church. So if you want to sow into, if you're looking for an opportunity, we've just shown you that you can be involved by donating. If you wish, you can go to their website, hit the give tab. You see different ways that you can support this ministry financially, because it's always important that when we see ministry happening, do what we can to support it and make sure it does not end. So thank you so much, Karen.
It's so great to have me here, Latasha. I really appreciate it.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. Keep up the good work. This is so inspiring to know all that you guys are doing. And tell Pastor Peeler I said hello.
I would definitely do that.
All right, everyone. We'll be right back after this short break.
The Bible tells us in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14, "If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land." If there were ever a time that we needed to come together in prayer, it is now. Therefore, our president, Elder Henry Fordham, is calling on you to join us as we band together in prayer. Pray corporately with us every day at 12 p.m., and in addition, 3 times a day. We believe that God will honor the faithfulness of His people as we band together in prayer. Please pray with us and watch God move.
Welcome back to AEC Today Reports. We are moving right along with our program, and next up is our Ask the Pastor segment. As you know, this month of April, we are featuring our Pastor Leslie Moise from our Mitchellville Church in Maryland, and so we're going to welcome him at this time. Welcome back, Pastor Moise.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last week, you were sharing with us some very interesting perspectives on the remnant, which we appreciated.
Indeed. Yes, I was thinking about it, and I thought, I need to share at least a verse with our members. And the one that comes to my mind now is John chapter 10. The first 10 verses. I mean, there we learn that Jesus' sheep know him by name. They know his voice. That's what I was referring to when I mentioned intimacy. You know that Jesus knows you by name and you know his voice. And if you know something about the shepherds in those days, I mean, it is interesting. A little tidbit I can share with you. The shepherds would have lunch together. They would be on a hill, and all the hundreds of sheep would be together. Nobody knows which belong to whom. And after they eat lunch, they would be talking and walking different ways. Wow. And the sheep would know the voice of their shepherds.
That's powerful.
It is a powerful image, indeed.
All right.
And that is Jesus. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. That's another added layer to add on top of that wonderful response last week, regarding the remnant. But we have a new question for you this week. And let's see what we have here. I know it's going to be another good one. Here it is. How do we know what's appropriate to do on the Sabbath? I know that this has come up a lot, particularly with, usually we had those hours at church, so that covered a lot of Sabbath hours. But now our virtual services are shorter. People are at home. What do we use as the barometer for what's appropriate versus what's not appropriate to do on the Sabbath?
All right. Is it my turn?
Yes, it's your turn.
This question is what I call a pregnant question because there's many different aspects to it. How do we know? I would start by saying the first thing that is inappropriate is to judge others about how they keep the Sabbath.
Okay. That's powerful.
When I heard the question, the first thing that came to my mind is Matthew 12, where Jesus said, the Sabbath is a day to do good. Okay, you can do good on the Sabbath. The Sabbath is not having a list of don'ts, being moody, and it's a day where you cannot have no joy. No, the Sabbath should be a day, Isaiah 58, that you do the best thing, the best ice cream that you like, if you can do that.
I'm a fan.
That is the day that you really enjoy the Lord. That you spend time with Him and you touch the lives of others. I remember Pacific Press asked me to write an article on exactly why did Jesus do miracles on the Sabbath. And I had to go and compare all the miracles that Jesus performed on the Sabbath. And what I discovered was something I did not expect. Jesus did not do one miracle that was an emergency. He healed a guy who's been lying at the same place for 38 years. This guy could have waited another 38 hours. He healed a guy who was born blind. And the withered hand, all of them were chronic illnesses that could have waited the next day. But Jesus, being the Savior, went out of his way to make the Sabbath a day to bring joy to people's lives, a day to bring freedom and liberty, as he said in Luke 4. So the Sabbath is the day we go out to do good for no reason, because it is the Sabbath. So how do we know what's appropriate to do on the Sabbath? Whatever will put a smile on God's face. Whatever will bring you closer to the Lord. And of course, in the pandemic and after the pandemic, as it was before, if you need some rest and some relaxation, enjoy it without a guilt trip. It is a day of rest.
That's right.
How do we know what's appropriate on the Sabbath? Is anything that is pleasing to the Lord, anything that you can do that will relieve the pain and suffering of others, that's where I would go.
Okay. I like that. I like that you're focusing more on what we should be doing on the Sabbath versus that don't list that I know as a child, I grew up with the don't list. Can't watch TV. You can't do this. You can't do that. But when you focus
that's the one I grew up to.
You too?
Yes.
Yeah. But I like your approach.
Church, let me tell you, in church, we faced that issue. We partnered with the Red Cross, I believe, and we would go to some houses and change their alarm system. The question was brought to me, hey, why are we doing that Sabbath afternoon? Why don't we do it on Sunday or some other days? And I say, yeah, you are right. But then again, why can't we do it on Sabbath afternoon?
Right.
At that time, in the county where my church is located, they were having we were having 60 to 80 fires a week.
Wow.
I mean, it was a lot in the fire department told me. Why not take a few minutes on in one day I be for like 400 plus fire alarms. I thought that was a blessing.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a struggle a lot of churches have
If
had.
that offends anyone hearing this, please excuse us. But I'm sure God has a smile on his face.
I like that. Well, may God smile. I think that's kind of what I'm going to ask my children to help them determine. Do you think this will make God smile on this Sabbath day? I love that. That's awesome. And I know for me, having two daughters, I want them to look forward to the Sabbath. I don't want them to see it as the don't day or, what we can't do day. And so this is definitely a perspective I can present to them to help them understand what the Sabbath is really all about. And hopefully we can guard ourselves accordingly.
Latasha, what I can tell you, I wish that the way I understood things when my children, my two daughters were little, and my oldest daughter must be hearing me in the other room. That is not news to her because we've been talking all along, but that's not the father I was when she was little. I'm glad though God has brought me to this understanding today.
Amen. And that's the thing.
So,
No, go ahead. I was going to say that's great that you.
I was about to say, I was saying if there are some members who still in the stage of you have to impose it, you gotta force it, you enforce the edge of the Sabbath with such a rigor that kids really are afraid to even think of the Sabbath.
Right.
If you are in that age, let me tell you, there is good news. You get in that relationship with the Lord, it is amazing what He can do, in your heart, in your thinking. Yes.
Amen. That gives hope. That gives hope. So, yes, let's not take away the joy out of the Sabbath that God intended by being, as you said, rigid. So rigid.
The Bible says, make it a delight. It says to make it a delight.
Yes, it did.
I cannot enjoy anymore all the ice cream I would like, but when I hear delight, I'm thinking of a nice scoop of ice cream. That's me. I'm not gonna give you my flavors, but I have so many. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of delight. I'm thinking of a nice mango. I'm digging my teeth in. That's what delight is to me.
Yeah.
And that when I think of the Sabbath, that comes to my mind.
I love it. I love it. I mean, the older I get, the more I appreciate the Sabbath too, because we run so crazy throughout the week. Now is a day that God has given us permission to rest and do good and put a smile on His face and help others. And I appreciate that about it.
Latasha, last year around this time, if anybody mentioned something good about the pandemic, I was upset. I didn't want to hear anything remotely positive about the pandemic. But now we have to say, God has brought us to a place where we can enjoy some rest on the Sabbath.
Absolutely.
The pandemic helps people that they really need, because the pandemic makes us work a little bit more too. So, I mean, the Sabbath is a gift. And remember, Jesus said, I believe Mark 2, the Sabbath was made for men, not men for the Sabbath.
For the Sabbath, yeah.
And by men, it did mean men and women. So we don't want the Sabbath to be what becomes so rigid in our lives that our lives are being experienced for the benefit of the Sabbath. That's nonsense. That's
Mm.
physical. The Sabbath is to be to the well-being of our lives.
Amen.
Yes, indeed.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. And so, as we go into this Sabbath this weekend, we're hoping everyone listening will take these things into mind as you think
Yeah.
about the Sabbath. Maybe it's time to make some adjustments in
Have
how we
some
view it.
special toys for your kids on the Sabbath. Indeed, yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Once again, we appreciate your perspective and your biblical guidance. And we look forward to next week's question. We always want to give a special plug to the Mitchellville SDA Church, where Pastor Moise is the pastor. This is their website where you can go and view their services online if you're interested. And they have a special series. What's that series again, you guys?
On Sundays, we are running Sunday seminars.
Okay.
And if you are in the Maryland area and you don't have a home church yet, feel free to pass by and check us online. Around May and June, we hope to be open. But for now, we can fellowship online. One of the things that we have been doing maybe for the past month or two is to have a meet and greet in the middle of the worship service.
Nice.
We have a meet and greet. Some members said it's even better than when they meet in the sanctuary. Because in the sanctuary, you only say hi.
Right.
There we have 5-7 minutes to really talk to one another, 2 or 3 people. So they had better quality time than before. That's what I heard.
Oh, nice. I love it. All right. So that's MitchellvilleSDA.org. Check them out. All right, Pastor Moise, we appreciate your response this week. And we look forward to next week's question and what you have for us then.
Thank you for the invitation.
No problem. All right, everyone. We'll be right back after this break.
Second Corinthians 6, verse 16. And what agreement hath the temple of God with idols? For ye are my temple the temple of the living God. As God hath said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Again, family, I feel like this is something that the devil has us look at sometimes and be like, oh, I know that. Meanwhile, God is like, yo, I'm the creator. I created the earth in 6 days. And I'm saying that I want to dwell with you. I want this covenant with you. I want to be with you. This is something that we need to remember. We are the temple of God. When you know who you are, you walk differently. You talk differently. You do things differently when you know who you are. And God is saying, oh, let me remind you who you are. So 2 Corinthians 6 verse 16 says again, we will be his people. This is the exact same message he was giving to the children of Israel.
All right, everyone, welcome back to AEC Today Reports. We are moving on to our final segment of this episode, and you know what it is. It's Fitness with Faye. We're so happy to have Faye back with us, sharing some great tips to keep us healthy. And so I'm going to invite her on at this time. Hi, Faye.
Hi, Latasha. Hi, viewers. How's everybody doing?
I feel like I have to do this with you when I see you doing it.
All right. There you go.
We love it. I hope you've been enjoying this spring weather as much as I have.
Absolutely. Nothing like some nice, clean, fresh air and sunshine, getting the vitamin D and just looking at God's majestic creations and flowers blooming and so on and so forth. Yeah.
It is.
Really beautiful. Time of year.
And we're trying to use this as kind of our inspiration to be motivated during this time. So tell us, Faye, what are we talking about today? How are we going to take advantage of the spring weather and be a little healthy?
Well, today I'm going to highlight springing into fitness with a buddy, along with some wonderful tips on the benefits of strength training.
Okay. So you talked about working out with a buddy. Now, why does that come with advantages? What are some of the advantages of having someone or some, a whole group to work out with?
Okay, Latasha, there's several benefits for working out with buddies or with partners. They offer companionship, especially during these times of social distancing. Some people may be feeling isolated. A partner or a group of people or a buddy will help you to maintain accountability. There's going to be days that you may not feel like working out. That person is going to show you support. You can push one another. And also, it adds a little competition. It brings about success and accomplishment because working together, you will be more apt to stick to achieving your goals.
That's right. That's right. That sounds good. I mean, I hear you saying that, and I'm even thinking about what we do each week. I know we talked about working out together.
Yes.
It motivates me that I know that this time is carved out every week to talk about health. So that it keeps me accountable, just even having this segment.
Great.
So how can we do this? What are some tips to partner up with someone or find someone to exercise with?
Okay. Well, you want to invite friends or family members, but listen to this. Choosing the right partner or buddy is very important. It's a big commitment of your time. Remember, you're making yourself a priority. You should want to be with someone that you enjoy being with and can commit to supporting and motivating one another. Listen to this. Someone at the same fitness level, not a marathon runner. If you are challenged to run a 5 mile or a mile or a 5K, or you may enjoy walking instead. So choose your partner and buddy carefully, according to your fitness level. You want to be with somebody that's kind of on the same fitness level as you, and you're working together to achieve your goals.
Okay.
Determine what kind of activities you're going to do, i.e. outdoor activities, gym memberships, working out at home virtually with the Fitness with Faye videos, developing a mutually convenient schedule together. So there we go. Yes.
So I like what I'm hearing here. I like the fact that it should be someone you like or you enjoy being around. I think sometimes we think maybe we need a drill sergeant. I mean, because you think about like trainers and stuff. But this is a different situation where because you like being around that person, you're more likely to commit to that time of working out, and it's something you look forward to as opposed to something you dread. I think that was key. And then the point about someone on the same level. Sometimes if you're working with someone who's already like a fitness guru, you feel a little intimidated and you may not, step up to what you can do because you already feel like you're so far behind. Those were great tips for choosing a buddy. I like that. And I hope our viewers are paying attention to that as well. So I'm a beginner. So anyone out there watching, if you need a fellow beginner, I'm here to partner.
All right. Wonderful, Latasha. And I'm here also for you. And as you said, you don't want to be with somebody that's at a higher level than you because you don't want to feel, like you're failing or that you're too far behind and you just stop altogether. Remember, take baby steps one day at a time.
Absolutely.
And now I'm going to highlight the importance of adding strength training to your workouts. Okay, last week we highlighted the weights, and this week we're going to highlight our fitness bands. But before we begin, you can strengthen your commitment to exercising with a partner. I have some wonderful strength training tips for you, and my virtual training partner, Latasha, and we're going to show you some wonderful exercises together. She's going to be my friend again. Okay, so go ahead and grab your bands if you don't already have them ready. And while you're getting your bands, I'll give you some more tips here. Okay. Strength training is one of God's anti-aging processes. It enables you to look better and feel better. if you're trying to keep the COVID weight off, or if you're fighting major diseases and so on and so forth, or you're trying to tone up those arms, getting ready for the summer for your short sleeves and your legs for your shorts, strength training will help fight those chronic disease and also improve your body mechanics and strengthen your immune defense system.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of benefits of strength training.
Yes, I like the way that sounds.
All right. Okay, so let's pick up those bands. And we're going to step into our bands seated, Latasha, and then we're going to stand, okay, so the viewers can see us better, okay? So you're holding onto your bands with your palms facing up, okay? So the band is underneath your feet, right in the center, in the middle of your feet, under the ball of your feet. We're going to start with bicep curls. So let's take a breath in and exhale. So we're going to inhale up, exhale down, okay? Up and down. Squeeze your biceps up and down. Up and down. Let's squeeze those biceps, full range of muscles, full range of movement. There we go. Now, if your bands are not tight enough for you, if you're not feeling enough resistance, take your feet out a little wider. That's going to make a difference for you. Okay, just spread your feet out a little wider. Wonderful. Okay, buddy, Latasha?
I'm ready.
Let's turn our palms in, okay, facing the screen, and we're going to lift those handles up.
Woo! I feel that.
All right. We're working our shoulders, our deltoids. We want to strengthen our shoulders. We need nice, strong shoulders, don't we, Latasha?
Absolutely.
There you go. Up and down, up and down. Up and down, up and down. Now, while we're here, we're going to engage that core. Draw your belly button into your spine. Let's suck it in and squeeze. Bring your elbows together. Inhale, exhale. There you go. Squeeze. Keep those arms up. Lift the handles up. Don't drop your elbows. There you go. Come on. Hold them up. Lift, 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 lift. Wonderful. And release. Great job. Great job. Okay, Latasha, let's come up on our feet.
Okay.
And show the viewers some more fun exercises with the band. So just make a quick adjustment here.
Okay.
All right.
I may be cut off, but
Okay. There we are. Well, let's see. I need to go back just a little more so that you can see me better. Okay, how's that?
yes, I can see you.
Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, so my palms are facing up, and here's those bicep curls again. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Elbows in. Okay, here we go. And 1, squeeze. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hold it right there. We're going to bring our pinkies together, into the handles together. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wonderful release. Relax those arms. Shake it out here, up and down. Can you feel that, Latasha?
Absolutely. I'm surprised at how much this band can do.
I'm telling you, I'm just so very convenient for traveling.
Yes.
We can take the bands everywhere, a little lighter than the weights, but the resistance is phenomenal.
Yes.
It's really amazing. Okay, so shake those arms out. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to do 2 to 3 sets of 10 of those 3 exercises that we just did together. Okay, so now we're going to turn our palms inwards, and we're going to do upright rows for our shoulders. Here we go. Up. Lift those handles up to your chest. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Wonderful. Now move the handles to your side, okay? And we're going to lift the handles right under our armpits. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wonderful. Release. Okay, Latasha, pull up on your handles and let's twist side to side. Little stretching in between our work. There you go. Make sure you have your handles lifted up high. Now we're going to move on to the back of our arms, our triceps. We want to tone those tricep muscles. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to turn sideways to demonstrate. I want you to lift your elbows up and keep those elbows lifted. Okay, so we're going to lift up on the handles, extend, lengthen the arms out. Go ahead, Latasha. There you go. And bring them in. Here we go. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wonderful. Release. Okay, so it's important to keep the elbows lifted. So we're working the tricep muscles effectively. Wonderful. Okay, now, Latasha, I want you to turn your palms up.
Okay.
Okay, palms up and spread your feet apart in the band.
Uh-oh.
We're going to sit back and hit some squats with bicep curls.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Move it. Here we go. So we go 1, drop the tailbones, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wonderful. Great job, Latasha. As I said, I want you to begin with 10, 2 sets of 10, and then work your way up to 3 sets of 10, okay? Now, Latasha, turn your palms up. There you go. Now, we're going to lift the handles up, the bands up, and I want you to bring your elbows forward. Squat down a little bit.
Okay.
There you go, just like that. All right, here we go. Now, we're going to lift up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wonderful. Shake it out. Shake it out. Okay. Now, Latasha, bring your handles right up to your waist. Okay, so we're going to pull up our trousers. Let's think about that. So we're going to bend and lift the handles right near the armpits there, right there. There you go. Up and down. Bend your knees. Great job. Let's hold it right there, okay? Now, while we have the handles lifted, take your right foot and let's take it out to the side for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to work the legs. Now switch left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wonderful. Bring your hands down. Okay, again. Right foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wonderful. Here's a couple of more bicep exercises for your arms. Holding on to both handles with your right hand, or you may hold on to one handle at a time as a modification. Okay, we squeeze the band right across the heart. Can you feel that, Latasha?
Oh, yes, I can.
Towards your opposite shoulder. Bring that band up towards your opposite shoulder there.
Okay.
There you go. Right there, just like that. Give me 5 more. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let's switch. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wonderful. Great job. Okay, take your feet out of the band.
Okay.
Now you're going to love this part. We have some wonderful stretching exercises that we're going to do together with the band. Okay, now holding on to both ends and the band itself with your right hand, stretch. Okay, so you're pulsating the bands, pulsating your arms and working your arms at the same time while stretching. Now we're going to lift that band up towards our forehead and then right overhead. Can you feel that stretching in your shoulders, Latasha?
Absolutely.
Woo, doesn't that feel great?
It does.
Woohoo! And let's kind of lean to the left a little bit. Tilt it, tilt, tilt. And then to the other side, tilt, tilt. There you go. You've got this, viewers. You've got this, Latasha. Okay, let's bring it up. Bring it up. Wonderful. Bring those bands down. Great job. Okay, and then I always like to switch hands so that we do the same thing on each side.
Okay.
So now we're holding onto the handles with our right hand and the band part with our left. Okay, pulse it out. Another wonderful exercise to strengthen your arms. Try doing this 15 to 30 seconds a few times a day. Okay, let's take it up. Once again, overhead and then behind your head. Feel that wonderful stretch.
Oh yeah, that one's so good.
Right behind your head, right behind your shoulders, your neck. Tilt it to the left. Now let's tilt it to the right. Wonderful. All right, great job.
I love that.
Great job, Natasha.
Thank you.
Nice work. You're welcome.
Works well for a beginner like myself.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'll let everyone know, like Faye was saying, these are so light and transportable that you can like throw these in your bag, throw these in the car. And
Easy to travel with.
Yeah. And we start off sitting in the chair. So I always think about these things that I can do while I'm in meetings, discreetly.
Exactly.
I have some strength training. So this is awesome.
I'm glad you like it.
Well worth the $4.99 I paid for it.
Easy to pack in a suitcase and use, keep right at your desk to use periodically throughout the day.
All right.
Absolutely. Okay, so in conclusion, having an exercise partner, Latasha, can help you be consistent with exercising and motivate each other. So it's mutually beneficial. Also, guess what? It can be a powerful evangelistic tool.
Oh,
yes,
that's definitely the case. Yeah, a lot of churches are starting exercise groups. A lot of people care about their health.
Yes,
and so by your church is sponsoring even a virtual workout. That's a great option to bring to meet new people and meet a community need. This is awesome. So I appreciate that. And I think you do more motivating of me than I do for you, but I'm always happy to be your workout buddy. This is great.
I love having you. Yeah, we're an awesome team. Dynamic duo, Latasha.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much, Faye. This is great. I hope our viewers were motivated and go out and get your bands and do the workout with us next time, or watch this back and do it again. So thanks, Faye, as always. This was great. Have a good one.
You're very welcome. Take care, Latasha. Bye, viewers. I'll see you next time. Let's stay on the move.
That's right. All right.
Stay active in a safe place, and God bless you all.
And as I continue to catch my breath, we'll be right back after this break.
The family's visit to the forest inspired a beautiful question. Mother, mother, am I a tree? You tell me to stand tall. You tell me to stay rooted. I think I am a tree. My child, of course you are. But what kind of tree will you be? The kind to hug or the kind to climb? Doesn't matter what you choose, so long as you choose to be a tree that's kind.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
All right, everyone, that wraps up tonight's program. We hope that you learned something that you can take with you as you go about the rest of the day and your week. We want to remind you, be sure you're checking out our website, visit aec.org. There are more events and activities that we want to make sure you're aware of. So make sure you check out our website. You'll see a lot of new information on that page. Don't forget, we're having our memorial service coming up in May. That's next month. So if you have a loved one, a member of AEC who has passed, and you'd like them to be part of our special memorial service, please put their information into the form that's on the homepage of our website, visit aec.org. We have some other things there as well. If you're a business owner, AEC business owner, put your information in that form as well as we continue to work on our directory. We have a lot coming up. Of course, we have camp meeting coming up in June. We'll be sharing more information about that as the weeks come along. But it's been great hanging out with you again. We hope to see you next week, because the more you watch, the more you know. All right, everyone, be safe. Have a great weekend. Check out our video of the week as we close.
1 Corinthians 15 and 14 says that if Christ is not risen, then our preaching is empty. In other words, our preaching is a lie. Our preaching makes no sense, and your faith is also empty. If Christ is not risen, we need to shut down the YouTube challenge. If Christ is not risen, we need to close our Facebook account. If Christ is not risen, we ought not stream another word. If Christ is not risen, we need to disconnect from Wednesday Connect. If Christ is not risen, there is no power in Power Up Tuesday. If Christ is not risen, then there will be no strength for today. I don't care how early you get up in the morning. If Christ is not risen, COVID-19 closed church doors, then they ought to stay closed. If Christ is not risen, we ought to stop this foolishness. We ought to bring it to an end. We ought to stop playing games with ourselves and go on about our business. Verse 17, if Christ is not risen, your faith is futile. You are still in your sins. We are still the wretched creatures that we have always been if there is no saving power through a risen Savior.